Hi, welcome to Reddit Audio Stories official channel. We hope you'll have fun with us. I appreciate your visit to my channel dedicated to love stories. I encourage you to subscribe and give it a thumbs up as it serves as great motivation for me to create new content. Enjoy watching. The sunlight was a gentle caress on the morning of my wedding day as I prepared, surrounded by close friends and family. My heart was filled with joy and excitement. I was about to marry Liam, the man I thought was the love of my life. Liam was charismatic, confident, and seemed genuinely devoted to me. We met at a friend's party, and our connection was instant. His smile was contagious, his laugh genuine, and our shared dreams for the future seemed perfectly aligned. But as I glanced in the mirror, a pang of unease struck me. I noticed Liam's mother glaring at me from the corner of the room. Her eyes were cold, her lips a thin line of disapproval. "What do you think of the dress, Mrs. Thompson?" I asked her, trying to break the ice. "It's decent," she replied dismissively, "but a woman of your age should have chosen something more modest." My sister Aria quickly intervened. "Linda looks beautiful, and this dress is perfect for her." I tried to shake off the unpleasant encounter as we headed to the venue. The ceremony was picturesque, set in a lovely garden filled with blooming flowers. The air was filled with the fragrance of roses, and our guests' happy faces reflected our joy. However, as the day wore on, I noticed something odd. Liam's mother continued to berate me, criticizing every detail. "Why did you choose these flowers? They look cheap," she hissed during the reception. I responded, keeping my composure. "I'm sorry they're not to your taste, but Liam and I chose them together, and we love them." Her cold eyes remained unyielding, and Liam, standing nearby, said nothing. His silence stung, and I wondered why he didn't defend me. But something even more concerning caught my eye. Liam's persistent conversations with Aria. They seemed overly familiar, and he often ignored me to talk to her. I tried to brush it aside, telling myself it was just friendly. "Banter, Linda, are you okay?" Aria asked me at one point, noticing my concern.
"Yes,"
I replied, forcing a smile, just enjoying the day. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The day that was supposed to be the happiest of my life was tainted by Liam's mother's hostility and Liam's strange behavior. As the celebration drew to a close, I tried to focus on the love I felt for Liam, but the seeds of doubt had been planted. The warning signs were there, I just didn't recognize them yet. That night, as Liam and I danced, I looked into his eyes searching for reassurance. "I love you, Linda," he whispered, holding me close. "I love you too," I replied, wanting to believe that everything would be fine. But deep down I knew that our marriage had begun. On a note of discord, a shadow had fallen over our happiness, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. After the unsettling undertones of our wedding, I was determined to focus on our new life together. We moved into the house I had purchased long before meeting Liam, a cozy place filled with memories and now brimming with hope for our future. Liam was unemployed at the time, unable to find a job that suited him. He seemed intent to let me provide for both of us, leaning on my stable position at the company. At first, everything seemed perfect. We settled into our routines, enjoyed candlelit dinners, and shared dreams of what our life would be like. I felt a renewed sense of hope and happiness, but then the cracks started to appear. Liam became lethargic, spending his days lounging around the house or going out with friends, leaving me to juggle work and household responsibilities. "Linda, don't you think you're overreacting? I'm trying to find a job," he said one evening when I expressed concern. "I know you are Liam, but it doesn't feel like we're working together as a team," I replied, frustration creeping into my voice. "I need you to contribute more." "We'll figure it out," he said, dismissively walking away from the conversation. His attitude started to change, and the loving, attentive man I married seemed to slip away. His late nights became more frequent, and sometimes he would come home drunk, reeking of alcohol, and unwilling to explain his whereabouts. "Linda, why are you making a big deal out of this?" he snapped. One night, his eyes glazed over. "Because I care about you, Liam. I care about us." I pleaded, tears welling in my eyes. "What's happening to you?" "Nothing's happening. Just drop it," he yelled, storming out of the room. The warmth of our relationship had turned cold, and I felt a growing distance between us. No matter how much I tried to talk to him about it, Liam shut down, erecting a wall. I couldn't penetrate the beautiful car I had bought him, once a symbol of our shared dreams, now seemed to be a tool for his escapades. I began to notice unfamiliar items in the house, and the phone would ring. But when I answered, the line would go dead. I confided in Arya, seeking her support and understanding. "Maybe he's just going through a phase." "Linda," she suggested, concern in her eyes. "Give him some time." "I hope so, Arya," I replied, feeling the weight of uncertainty. "I just want my Liam back." But deep down I knew that the Liam I married was slipping away. Our new beginning was crumbling, and I was powerless to stop it. Our home, once filled with love and laughter, was now clouded by tension and mistrust. The warning signs were growing stronger, and I was beginning to realize that our marriage was not what it seemed. The dream was turning into a nightmare, and I was trapped in it. Unable to wake up, the dark clouds that had been gathering over our marriage finally burst. One chilling night, the ring of the phone broke through the silence of the house, a shrill alarm that made my heart jump. I glanced at the caller ID and froze. It was Liam's mother. My hands trembling, I picked up the receiver. "Linda, dear." She cooed, her voice dripping with condescension. "Have you lost your husband?" "What do you mean?" I stammered, trying to hide my growing concern. "Oh, you must know what I mean. He's always out late. Isn't he?" She purged, savoring each word. "He's with friends. Mrs. Thompson." I replied defensively. "Friends? Is that what he tells you?" She laughed, a cruel and mocking sound. "My dear, he's been cheating on you with your sister for 2 years. Even now he's with her. Your sister Arya is much better than you, my dear." Her words were like knives cutting deep into my soul. I felt the room spin, and my knees threatened to buckle. This couldn't be true. "You're lying." I gasped, my voice breaking. "This is some sick joke." "I have no reason to lie, dear," she replied, her tone icy. "You may think you have won my son, but you're just a placeholder. You will never be good enough for him." The room was closing in on me, and I struggled to breathe. My mind reeled and my heart ached as I recalled all the warning signs, the late nights, the whispered phone calls, the growing distance between Liam and me. "I don't believe you," I said, tears streaming down my face. "Believe what you want. But you know it's true," she replied, a triumphant note in her voice. "You've always known." I hung up my hands, shaking, my mind in turmoil. I had to know the truth. I dialed Liam's number, desperate for answers. "Liam," I said, my voice trembling. "Where are you?" "Linda? I'm just out with friends," he said, his breathlessness raising alarm bells in my mind. "Liam, are you with Arya?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "What? No, of course not," he stammered, but I could hear the lie in his voice. "2. I know," I said, my voice breaking. "Your mother told me everything." Silence. A heavy, crushing silence that seemed to last an eternity. "Linda, listen," he began, but I hung up. My world shattered. The truth was out, and it was more painful than I could have ever imagined. The man I loved, the sister I trusted, had betrayed me in the most cruel and unthinkable way. I sat alone, the weight of the revelation crushing me. My marriage, my family, my life had been a lie. The one person I thought I could trust had become a stranger, and the sister I loved had stabbed me in the back. I knew then that I had to take control of my life, to find the strength to face the betrayal and build a new path for myself and my unborn child. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was determined to face it with courage and dignity. The time for blind trust was over. The time for action had begun the next morning. I was a storm of conflicting emotions, anger, betrayal, and a cold, resolute determination. I knew what I had to do, and as the reality of my situation settled in, a clear path formed in my mind. I gathered the evidence. The late-night calls, the unfamiliar items, the pieces of a puzzle that now made a devastating picture. I knew Liam would come home expecting to find his unsuspecting wife, but I was prepared. The door creaked open, and there he was, looking disheveled and guilty. His eyes widened when he saw the look in my eyes, a look he had never seen before. "Linda," he began, but I cut him off. "Don't," I said, my voice cold and steady. "I know everything," he stammered, his face palling. "Yes. Liam, everything. Your affair with Arya, your lies, your betrayal." I said, my words like ice. "I know it all. Linda, let me explain." He pleaded, tears in his eyes. "Explain." I snapped. "What could you possibly say that would make this right? Linda, I love you. I made a mistake. Let's work this out," he begged, reaching for me. "Don't touch me," I said, recoiling from his touch. "You don't get to say you love me after what you've done. Linda, please." He sobbed, breaking down. "Give me a chance to make it right." "No." "Liam," I replied, my voice unwavering. "There's no coming back from this. You destroyed us. You destroyed our family. I'll do anything," he cried, "anything you want. You'll sign these divorce papers," I said, thrusting them in front of him, "and you'll leave my house." "Linda, don't do this," he begged, his voice breaking. "It's done." "Liam," I said, my voice firm, "you did this, not me." He signed the papers, tears streaming down his face, his hand trembling. "I never meant for this to happen," he whispered. "You made your choice." "Liam," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "Now live with it." He left, his shoulders slumped, his face a mask of despair. I watched him go, a mixture of relief and sorrow washing over me. The confrontation was over, but the wounds were deep. I knew I had done the right thing, but the pain was unbearable. My marriage was over. My sister had betrayed me, and I was left to pick up the pieces of a life shattered by deceit and betrayal. But I knew I was strong. I had faced the man who had broken my heart and had stood my ground. I had taken control of my life, and I was determined to move forward. The future was uncertain, but I knew I could face it. I had taken the first step towards healing, towards rebuilding my life. The road would be long and difficult, but I was ready to walk it, knowing that I had the strength and courage to overcome anything. My revenge had begun, and I was prepared to see it through to the end. The legal proceedings began swiftly, a mechanical process that seemed to move both too quickly and agonizingly slow. Liam's betrayal had left a wound that festered with each passing day, and I wanted to close this chapter as soon as possible. I hired a determined and competent lawyer who specialized in messy divorce cases. In our initial meeting, she looked at the evidence and listened intently as I shared my story. "Linda, I understand this is a painful and difficult time for you," she said, her eyes filled with genuine concern. "But I want you to know that I'll fight for you. We'll make sure you get what you deserve." "Thank you," I whispered, tears threatening to spill. "I just want this to be over." "I know, and I'll do everything I can to make that happen," she promised. The battle lines were drawn. Liam, of course, tried to save face, pleading for forgiveness and mercy. But I remained resolute, my anger and pain fueling my determination to see justice done. During one of the mediation meetings, he looked at me, his eyes filled with desperation. "Linda, can't we talk about this?" he implored. "Can't we try to work things out? We're past that point." "Liam," I replied, my voice steady, but my heart aching. "You made your choice. Now you have to live with the consequences." He hung, his head defeated and broken. I felt a pang of sympathy, but quickly pushed it away. He had brought this upon himself. The weeks dragged on, filled with paperwork, meetings, and bitter arguments. Liam's mother, unsurprisingly, made things more difficult, meddling and throwing accusations. "How could you do this to my son?" she spat at me during one of the court breaks. "You ruined his life. Your son ruined his own life." I shot back, my anger boiling over. "He betrayed me, and now he is to face the consequences. You'll regret this," she hissed, her eyes filled with malice. "I doubt that," I replied, turning away from her poisonous words. Finally, the day came when the judge granted the divorce. I was awarded the house, the car, and child support for our unborn child. "You've won, Linda," my lawyer said, smiling as we left the courtroom. "You stood strong, and you got what you deserved." "I don't feel like I've won," I reply, looking out at the gray sky. "I've lost so much." You've gained your freedom and your dignity, she said, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder, and you've shown your strength. That's a victory. I nodded, knowing she was right. The divorce was a painful but necessary step towards healing and moving on that night, alone in my house. I felt a mixture of relief and emptiness. The battle was over, but the scars remained. I knew that the road ahead was still long and filled with challenges, but I also knew that I had the strength to face them. I had survived the betrayal, the heartache, and the legal battle. I was ready to rebuild my life, to create a future for myself and my child. The divorce had been a painful ending, but it was also a new beginning, a chance to start fresh, to find happiness again. I was ready to take that chance, knowing that I had the courage and the determination to make it a reality. The days following the divorce were a blur filled with a flurry of activity. As I set my revenge plan into motion, the legal battle was over, but there was still much to be done to truly put Liam and his betrayal behind me. I had been meticulous in my preparations, ensuring that everything was in place to make Liam pay for his deceit. The car he had been so proud of. A gift from me was repossessed, leaving him stranded and humiliated. A friend of mine in the legal field helped me secure a restraining order against Liam's mother, keeping her toxic presence away from me and my unborn child. Then came the confrontation with Arya, my sister, the one who had betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. I invited her to my house, my emotions, a volatile mix of rage, hurt, and disbelief. When she arrived, her face was pale and her eyes were wide with fear.
Linda,
please let me explain. She stammered as I glared at her. Explain. I snapped my voice, dripping with contempt. How do you explain betraying your own sister? I never meant to hurt you. She sobbed, tears streaming down her face. It just happened. I never planned for this. You never planned to sleep with my husband. I hissed my anger, reaching a boiling point. You never planned to destroy my marriage. Linda, please let's talk about this. She pleaded, reaching for me. Don't touch me. I spat, recoiling from her touch. You're dead to me.
Arya.
Her face crumpled and she fell, her knees sobbing uncontrollably. I'm so sorry. She choked out, her voice barely a whisper. Sorry doesn't fix this. Arya, I said, my voice cold and unfeeling. You made your choice, and now you have to live with it. I turned away from her, leaving her broken and sobbing on the floor. My revenge was complete, but it was a hollow victory. The pain of her betrayal was still fresh, a wound that would take a long time to heal. As the days turned into weeks, I focused on rebuilding my life. I sold the house, moving into a smaller, Crozier place that felt like a fresh start. I found comfort in my work, throwing myself into my career and finding success and fulfillment. My friends and family rallied around me, supporting me and helping me heal. The revenge had been satisfying, but it was only a temporary fix. True healing came from within, from facing the pain and moving forward. I knew that I had the strength to do that, to build a new life for myself and my child. The revenge had been a necessary step, a way to reclaim my power and my dignity. But it was the choices I made after that, the way I chose to live my life, that truly defined me. I had been betrayed and hurt, but I had also shown my strength and resilience. I had taken control of my life and my destiny, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The revenge was over, but my journey was just beginning. I was ready to move on, to find happiness and peace again. I knew that I could do it, that I was strong enough to overcome anything, and as I looked to the future, I knew that I had the power to create the life. I wanted to find joy and fulfillment again. My revenge had been a necessary step, but it was the choices I made after that, the way I chose to live my life, that truly defined me. I was ready for whatever came next, knowing that I had the strength and the courage to face it. Dear friends, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, put likes, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel.